Hey everyone, it's me, Chef Socrates again. Welcome back to another exciting cooking episode of the Chef Socrates series. Today we'll be cooking a very special Vietnamese soup with beef, also known as can in the Vietnamese language. I hope that you all enjoy the rest of this video and the rest of this adventure that we're going to take on for the first time. Without further ado, let's get started. So the recipe that we're going to attempt is the Vietnamese style beef watercress and cilantro soup. A Vietnamese type of soup. Here's the picture of the final product. This is also known as can, the Vietnamese word for soup. For this recipe, we're going to fully rely on the ingredients and just the instructions from this one sheet of paper here. So the disadvantage with using a cookbook is that you have to imagine everything in your mind as you read through the instructions. So if there are a couple words and phrases that you don't understand, you're just gonna have to guess it and try it out. So that's what we're gonna do. And again, if you have a video tutorial of how to cook something, then that's better than just looking at words and stuff on paper. So other than that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, to begin, we're first going to need olive oil, fish sauce, fine ground black pepper, sea salt, of course our cutting board and knife, onion. This one's optional. This is a lime or a lemon or whatever. So this is for the end where you just cut it in half and then squeeze the juices in to get the flavor. I have a lime here that happens to be orange. Ground beef. This is an appropriate size depending on what kind of servings you want to do. I think this could probably give about 3 servings. Cilantro, green onions, and lemongrass. Now do not confuse lemongrass with green onions. They are very different things, different properties as well, and we'll get into that in just a bit. Watercress. I got this pack in the bag, so we're gonna cut this up. A typical regular sized pot should do, but because of all the servings that we have here, we're going to use a medium sized pot here. And in advance, I just want to thank everybody for watching this video. For that size of a pot, we're just gonna have to estimate this. I'm thinking this much of cilantro. We're just gonna use 1 stem of green onions. We're gonna use 2 stems of the lemongrass, and we took a little handful of the living watercress. Now, of course, with this, make sure first things first is to wash the vegetables. We're gonna modify this recipe just a bit because it says to mix the beef with the fish sauce, but you know what? We're just gonna put everything into the pot and then mix it from there. The recipe also calls for shallots, which are purple onions. However, we're using the regular onions that we all like to see. So I actually don't have pink onions, so we're gonna use the regular onions. Whatever, onions is onions, so let's just use that. This part actually confused me right here. 2 stalks of lemongrass, I mean, I know what that means. Trimmed to the bottom 6 inches, so I think that means we cut it down to where, you know, the thicker part is. We leave this part out, like we don't care about this, I think. And dry outer layers discarded, bruised, and halved crosswire. What does bruised mean? What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to like... Alright, so we're gonna prepare the cilantro, the green onions, and the watercress first. These ingredients get added last after we put everything in the pot and everything starts to boil. We'll set everything aside in a small bowl here, and then when the time comes, we'll put everything in last. Cut the cilantro into little leaves only. You can keep the stems as well, but make sure that the leaves are distinctly cut. Nice strategy is to take them all together with your grip here, and then start, almost like the claw method, kind of take your knife here, and start chopping away. And there you have it, the cilantro pieces. They're a bit big, but for the sake of the soup, it works out perfectly. So put this aside into the bowl. Same thing with the watercress. Make sure you cut them so that the leaves are distinct. Take your whole hand, put them here, cut, slice them. Don't mind about the stems. Somewhat big enough pieces right here. I'm shaking them so you can see the composition. The leaves have been separated. Put them into the small bowl. For the green onions, you want to make sure you cut them into around 1/4 to 1/2 inch. So we're going to go ahead and measure that right now. So you can see that's 1 inch there, half. It's a bit big, so we're going to do 1/4 inch right there. So let's go ahead and do this. Take your fingers right here, start from the edge, claw method. The easy way to do this is to make sure that while you grip and slice them, that you want to keep them all together. If you keep them separated, you're going to have a difficult time slicing these. For the last part with the roots, I believe since that we do have the roots, you might be able to replant this into the ground and grow your own green onions. You know what? Let's do one more stem of green onion so we get more of that green looking thing for the presentation. Next is the onion. We're gonna cut this in half and only use half. The other part we're gonna save for whatever other recipe we have. I think a nice strategy is to just slam it down first so you get the knife in there. Like that. There we go. After you get one half, we're gonna go ahead and let's use a smaller one. I'm gonna save this so my family can cook with that later, the bigger one. We're gonna stick with a small one. Of course, peel out the skin. Once you cut it in half, this makes it easier to cut. So what you're gonna do is place the flat part on here, and you're gonna cut parallel, not perpendicular. You're gonna cut parallel of the onion's lines. So here we go. Again, safety first. Claw method, so you get a good grip on that. Something like this is what you're aiming for. Look at how thin those slices are. Also make sure to cut that edge part. You don't need that. So here's what we have, fresh onion pieces, very thin. Ah! All right, so next we're gonna clear your cutting board. Make sure to sharpen your knife. There you go. The lemongrass is very special in its characteristics where it's using ingredients in all the food that people cook to extract the aroma and the scent of it. Used a lot in Asian food, and there's a specific special way to cut this in order to extract the most flavor effectively. So I want everybody to check this out real quick here. This is how it's gonna be done. We have two. I'll show you how to do one. So, it says to peel the outer layer. So I guess they don't want the dirty, the bruised part. So this outer layer, which easily came off, we're just gonna toss to the side here, so we don't have to worry about that. Now we're left with one of the inner pieces. Now, if the second inner layer is still dirty and bruised, you can go ahead and remove that too, because you can see it's a lot of layers actually inside here that you can start peeling out carefully. Let's cut the bottom 6 inches, because that's what it says to do. It says trimmed to the bottom 6 inches. Okay, 6 inches. The bottom 6, that's half the stem. I think maybe more like 1.5 inches. That's a significant amount of measurement. So let's just cut this part out, and I hope I'm not doing this wrong. And when you open it up, here's what I want to emphasize. When you open it up, we're going to try to check out right here, the center piece. Now, the video tutorial that I watched about cutting it says if you're able to indent your thumb into the center piece and it kind of makes a little dent, that means it's tender. The center part right here is the part that we want to extract the aromas and all the scent from. So again, do the same thing with the other stem, be extremely careful, and then we're going to slice this into extremely thin pieces like how we did for the green onions. The point being with the lemongrass is just slice them normally like how you would for green onions. So here's a close-up of the cut lemongrass. Here's my hand so you could kind of get a gauge of size right there. Here's the bowl of the watercress, the green onions, the stems, and the cilantro. Finally is the ending product, the lime that happens to be orange. Cut this in half. And there we go. So we're going to squeeze this into the soup after we finish cooking. Also, we're not too picky about the type of ground beef. This one happens to be 80% lean and 20% fat. Again, from Safeway, pretty cheap, $9 to $10 average price. This is saying that The weight of this is 0.02 pounds up here, so not too bad. Let's get cooking. Here's our pot here. We're gonna turn the heat on to about 80% high. Get the oil in there. Get around 30 to 40% to fill the pot. So here's the inside right there. Once you got 30%, just kind of swirl the oil around. We're gonna reduce the heat to around medium so we don't burn the onions and the lemongrass too fast. So the time you know when to add the onions is when the oil starts really sliding through the pot very quickly, which is right around now. Kind of swirl for a bit. Going to add the lemongrass. Go ahead and stir. Get that in there right there. Stir accordingly. Something I want to point out is that if you sniff this, you can really smell the aromas of the lemongrass. Now I can see exactly why this particular soup is legendary. Oh man, it smells good. We're gonna do a quick inspection to see if the lemongrass has softened. Now I'm just doing it by chopstick. I'm trying to press in on it. And honestly, it's subjective, so if it's soft enough to you, then you can go ahead and proceed with the rest of the instructions. Okay, so it looks like the lemongrass is definitely soft enough. I can kind of like really press it. It's starting to bend right here. Now it's time to add the beef and get this whole thing going. I'm a bit nervous about this because I don't know how fast this is gonna cook or if the pot is gonna react very aggressively to this. 1, 2, 3. Now, how you want to do this, the instructions say to break this up. So take your chopsticks and literally spread it open as fast as you can. You want to cook this where it's at the bare minimum fully cooked. They say to leave a bit of some pink in, but because I've had issues with, raw meat and all that, we're gonna just fully cook this to be on the safe side. While this is in here, you also want to mix in the fish sauce right here. Get a bit of only a bit. Also, you want a bit of fine ground black pepper. Oops. That. Keep breaking apart the ground beef so that it cooks easier. You want them into very small pieces. Like let me show you the picture again right here. The ground beef, you can see broken into very small pieces, so this is what we want. This is the gold standard. So there's a close-up of the beef. Keep breaking it up. So we're about 5 minutes in. It looks about ready and fully cooked, so let's go ahead and add the water. Notice how there's no pink left. I'm not taking any risk with any raw stuff today. As the beef gets fully cooked, it's going to become very easy to break it apart. So you can see these little pieces now that's fully cooked, they don't stick together. That's what we want. The recipe calls for 6 cups of water to be added to the pot. So we got 6 cups of water right here. So here's the newly added, I hope it's 6 cups of water. Whatever the case is, here's the height level of the water compared to the pot for gauging the height. You can see the oil is all around the water to get that, feeling of some type of soup. We're gonna turn up the heat now so that the water can boil quickly. So we're gonna turn this to high. Recipe says 1 teaspoon of salt. I don't know how much that is, but I assume that's very little. Get that in there. And let's stir so that everything is equally distributed. The instructions say to remove the lemongrass after you cook it, that you added at the beginning, but the problem that you can see here is that it's pretty difficult to remove the lemongrass. Like there's still going to be some in here, even if I try to, remove them. So I confirmed that it's okay to leave the lemongrass in here. It's edible, it's safe to eat, so don't worry about it, just leave it all in there. And it smells good. So a quick zoom in on the soup there. You can see that it's boiling. It says reduce to a simmer. So we're gonna reduce the heat to around a medium and leave this to simmer for 10 more minutes. There it is. I think that's simmer, supposedly. So we're gonna reduce the heat just a bit more. I think that's over simmering. We're gonna bring it down a bit. Yeah, I think that's the simmer that we're looking for. Alright, so it's been 10 minutes. It smells really good. You can see everything is simmering in there. We're gonna go ahead and turn off the heat now. We are almost done. The final step is to pour in the greens. After adding them, make sure to stir. Get it in there really good. That smells really good. We added the green onions to give extra flavor to it. Even though the recipe doesn't say to use green onions, we'll modify it to our liking. Alright, and there we have it. The Vietnamese style beef watercress and cilantro soup. Let's go ahead and have a taste test. Get your ladle. Get a good sweep of that beef at the bottom. Alright, so here's the soup. Let's go ahead and try it out. It's pretty hot, so I'm just gonna hug it to my chest and I hold the bottom of it. Kinda get a really nice close-up of that detail. That's really good. I thought I added too much fish sauce, but no, that's perfect. It's good. Gonna have a little sip of the soup itself. This is great. The recipe also calls for an optional steamed jasmine rice to be served with the soup. So, you know, eat this with whatever you like. Rice would be really nice too. I literally almost forgot, add the lime. You could just squeeze in the whole thing there. I'm sweating so much because it's so hot today, but we just added the lime. Let's see if this really makes a difference. You definitely taste the lime in there. You know, you taste the original soup with the beef and all the greens along, you know, the taste of the oil and the lemongrass. At the same time, you get tackled with the scent of the lime that you just added. So it's still a good taste. It's just up to your preference. You don't have to add the lime if you don't want it. Either way, the soup is really good. Overall, the Vietnamese beef soup was really easy to make, very good. I highly recommend it. Special shout out to the Milk Street cookbook that we referenced from throughout that one page of instructions. It's a really good book. I highly recommend it, and I'm personally going to check out some more recipes from that book in the future as well. Thank you everybody for watching this video. I hope that you all learned a lot throughout this cooking tutorial. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more epic videos. And this is me, Chef Socrates. Until next time.